K-pop craze. How BTS and the K-pop industry changed South Korea's economy. From classical to big band swing to jazz to soul music to the rise of rock and roll, hip-hop, and the powerhouse of disco and electronic music, every decade has had its money-making successes in many different forms and arts. But one genre above all of these has always dominated both the billboards and lined the pockets of everyone involved in it: pop music. After all, it's got popular right there in the name. With its many forms, what we know today as pop music has not just stayed, but cemented its welcome on the radio waves. Every era and every place in the world has its own take on pop music, as industrialized and mainstream as it may appear. Now, think to yourself and close your eyes. Who do you think are the leaders of pop music right now? You know, like the actual pop royalty of this moment in time. Nope, not that. Definitely not that one. Heck, if you really want to know, make sure and go ask any teenage girl you might know, since they compose pretty much the majority of the market. Don't worry, we'll wait. There it is. Just ask your daughters, sisters, cousins, or anybody else for that matter, and they'll tell you that K-pop is the king of the hill when it comes to pop music. And they don't just win by popularity, it's also an election where voting with your wallet matters. As a music genre, K-pop brings in around $5 billion globally and has an audience of over 100 million listeners, making it the top of the 5 most listened genres around the globe. Just so you get an idea, that's twice the amount of people that actually live in South Korea. Or to think about it in even crazier terms, through K-pop revenues alone, the GDP of South Korea has grown over 0.3%. That's like if NSYNC or Backstreet Boys back in its day made as much money as a computer company or oil rig. But how did the small Asian nation become the world-leading exporter of pop music and pop music-adjacent talent? What are some of the secrets to its massive success? Who are the artistes that are responsible for its contemporary massive growth? Does it have any dark secrets and controversies? Join us as we try to answer all of these questions relating to the K-pop craze. A history of K-pop. First off, the basics. Modern K-pop can trace its roots to the 1950s, thanks to a group called the Kim Sisters. The Kim Sisters were the true pioneers that popularized Korean pop in the West. In fact, the trio was the first Korean group to make it onto the American Billboard chart. Back then, K-pop was actually considered very activism-focused, with the collective fandoms occasionally coming together to stand against or for certain causes. This can be attributed to 1970s K-pop singer Kim Min-ki. Kim Min-ki created pro-democracy anthems that eventually led to his albums being banned. However, the South Korean government relaxed censorship rules in the late 1980s as part of measures to diversify the country's economy. With the more accommodating rules, K-pop and IP began to flourish in South Korea, which led to the Korean wave and its industry that we know today. Another important detail that separates it from its Western counterparts is that it's a movement that was pretty much birthed contemporary to television, which means marketing, image, and branding have always been key factors in the K-pop industry. In the 1990s, Seotaiji and Boys burst onto the scene, creating most of what we recognize as K-pop today. Seotaiji fused Korean pop, American pop, and choreography, creating a wildly popular music experience. The rise of the group created a formula that was quickly replicated to form the first generation of K-pop. Notably, the first industry studio-produced and trained group was SM Group HOT. The second generation started as soon as 1999, with the debut of Groove Overdose, GOD. Other popular second-generation groups include Shinhwa, BOA, TVXQ, Super Junior, Big Bang, Girls' Generation, and FT Island. As you can see, even as early as its post-grassroots beginning, the bands have had a whole thing with big, bold names and acronyms. It was during the second generation that K-pop started aggressively spreading beyond Korea, and the term Korean Wave, or Hallyu, was first coined. During this generation, K-pop groups began embarking on world tours, and idols began creating fan-targeted content other than music. K-pop idols began appearing on TV shows, creating personalized reality programs, and starring in K-dramas. The dominant K-pop groups today, you know, the ones that have turned it into a billion-dollar market, are mostly considered third-generation groups. These are Shin-E, 2PM, Infinite, FX, 2NE1, Miss A, Sistar, EXO, Blackpink, 17, Monster X, GOT7, Twice, and more. Their success probably has to do with the impact of social. A good example of this was how in 2012, Psy's Gangnam Style became the most streamed song on YouTube. You remember the one. Believe it or not, audiences across the globe were simultaneously introduced to K-pop with that one song. The fourth generation is the emerging generation. It's less manufactured compared to the previous generations, enjoying more artistic and personal freedom. In addition, this generation is often not restricted by roles, as group members are multi-talented and able to serve as singing, rapping, and dancing visuals. Fourth generation groups include Stray Kids, TXT, ATEEZ, ITZY, Treasure, and Hypen, aespa, and Luna. So the acronyms still haven't really gone anywhere, just kinda got weirder. But surely amongst all these perfectly choreographed and caked up young faces, one must stand over the crowd as the kings of K-pop, the ones that truly catapulted it to a global phenomenon. Well, in that you would be right. Those among you with a younger sister or a daughter can probably already guess who we're talking about. BTS! BTS, or Beyond the Scene, a 7-member South Korean boy band, in 2019 became the first group since the Beatles to earn 3 #1 albums on the Billboard 200 chart in less than a year. With a mix of pop, hip-hop, R&B, and electronica, BTS's drawing power for its tours ranks with Taylor Swift, One Direction, and Beyoncé. Like them, BTS was able to sell out London's 90,000 capacity Wembley Stadium, except they did it in 90 minutes. Last year, the group's tour crashed Ticketmaster's website, selling out 300,000 tickets in minutes at an average price of $452. BTS has arguably been even more successful in building a merchandising and endorsement empire that extends far beyond typical tour t-shirts. As of time of writing, their collective worth is a whopping $50 million, and not a single one of them is older than 30. So what's the secret to this incredible economic success? Well, it ain't just the looks and the music, no sir. The true genius behind BTS lies in its cleverly placed marketing. The band has built a merchandising and endorsement empire on a scale not seen in Western pop music, drawing on a commanding social media presence to reach millions of young, global consumers. People will buy anything they touch, said Paul Han, co-founder of the Korean pop news site allkpop.com. As an example, when BTS stepped out in a Hyundai Palisade last year, the SUV was on backorder for months. The band also launched lucrative partnerships with sportswear manufacturer Puma for tracksuits and sneakers, global character brand Line Friends for collectibles such as cell phone cases and plush dolls, South Korean beauty brands VT Cosmetics and Mediheal for makeup, perfume, and face masks, and toy maker Mattel for figurines and an Uno card deck. Other collaborators, such as Starbucks and UNICEF, have said they plan to harness the band's popularity to promote their humanitarian efforts. Behind BTS's success is its record label, Big Hit Entertainment, a privately held company with an estimated worth between $1.08 billion and $2.07 billion, according to the Hyundai Research Institute. Big Hit soon surpassed other major players in the industry, overtaking SM Entertainment, worth $1.3 billion, JYP at $788 million, and YG at $492 million. Without a doubt, BTS is the biggest boy band in the world right now, and they don't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. Butter, which released in July of 2021, sold 2,490,969 copies. But with any spotlight, especially where astronomical amounts of money is involved, can also come dark underbellies. Controversies and outrages. There's quite a lot of rumors of massive amounts of bullying and competitiveness within the pop industry, and it being even more fierce and outright abusive in the world of K-pop. Such hardships have even reportedly led to suicides amongst some of its most beloved stars. But besides that, there have also been some very disturbing allegations and cases in which pop fame and pop money have been used in awful ways. Here's, in no particular order, some of the controversies and mess-ups that have been plaguing the industry as of late. In 2014, reports emerged that 2 women, model Lee Ji-yeon and K-pop artist Dahee of the band Glam, tried to blackmail actor Lee Byung-hun for the equivalent of $4.2 million. Lee reported the incident to law enforcement, claiming the women threatened to release a cell phone video of him drinking with them and making lewd remarks. Both women later admitted to the blackmail. Dahee said she had taken part because she was in debt with her agency, Big Hit Entertainment. The model Lee said she had been in an affair with the actor and that he had rejected her. Dahee was sentenced to a year in prison, and Lee got 1 year and 2 months. She was soon kicked out of her band Glam. Shortly afterward, the group's contract was terminated. A K-pop music video director was involved in a corruption scandal that reached the highest levels of power in South Korea. Cha Yun-taek, a K-pop music video director, was ensnared in a corruption scandal that included then-President Park Geun-hye in 2016. Cha had worked with Gangnam Style star Psy and the band Big Bang. Prosecutors alleged he tapped his connection to one of then-President Park's confidants to land big contracts with private companies and government agencies. Cha was charged with abuse of power, coercion, and embezzlement. And Park, who prosecutors described as a co-culprit, became the first sitting president to face criminal charges. In 2017, Cha was found guilty of the charges and sentenced to 3 years in prison. Seungri, controversies around sexual violence and prostitution. Once one of K-pop's shining stars, the artist Seungri has been at the center of a series of ongoing scandals. Reports emerged in early 2019 that he had been in a messaging group chat with other K-pop stars, including Joon-young, who shared videos of themselves engaging in sex acts with women. The recordings were made without the women's knowledge or consent. Later that year, the Seoul Metropolitan Police launched an investigation against Seungri, and he promptly left his group, Big Bang. "I think I'd better leave the entertainment industry at the moment," he wrote on Instagram at the time, leading his record label stock to plummet as much as 14%. In January, Seungri was indicted on charges including gambling and organizing prostitution. Joon-young of the group Drug Restaurant and FT Island member Choi Jong-hoon, K-pop stars Joon-young and Choi Jong-hoon were sentenced to 6 years and 5 years in prison respectively for gang raping 2 women on 2 separate occasions in 2016. As the scandal emerged, Choi left his band FT Island and retired from the industry. In addition to gang rape, Jung was found guilty of filming himself having sex and distributing the footage, all without his partner's knowledge or consent. He shared the videos in a group chat whose members included the now disgraced singer Seungri. Jung's crimes were part of a devastating trend of spy cam porn in South Korea that prompted widespread demonstrations from women and allies. At the sentencing hearing, Choi and Jung wept as the judge read their prison sentences, but only they know whether their tears were shed over the deaths of their careers and reputations, or out of shame for their actions or remorse for their victims. So, what do you guys make of all of this? Will K-pop remain the king of the music industry for long? Or will it soon become just another passing fad? Do you have any favorite K-pop artists that we missed? Or any dark controversy that you feel should be discussed? Leave us a like and a comment, and let's find out.